Welcome to the Hedge Fund Playbook, empowering real estate wholesalers with the tools that they need to win. So we are dialing in, guys, getting our acquisitions process really clean cut, right? Now, this is only going to be a viable option in the hot target markets, right? So I've put together a mind map just to really iron out the process and make it easier to navigate. So looking at this target market acquisition strategy, here's what we're looking at. This is only going to be an active strategy at the moment in these following markets: Atlanta, Charlotte, Raleigh, Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa, right? So these are our hot target markets that we're really looking to dial in, okay? Now, lead received, right? This means you either making a cold call, seller answers, hey, Mr. Seller, just wanted to call, see if you'd be interested in selling your house at 123 Main Street, right? The seller raises their hand, any shape or form. Obviously, we want to really reach out, build rapport, go through that sales process, read our calling script. Very simple. Now, when this takes place, right? First thing we want to do is hop over to Zillow and Realtor.com to comp the property, right? To get a feel for the area, the price, location, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and bounce over to our appointment tracker, right? And let's look at some of these quick houses just to see if they might be a good fit, right? So here we got this address in Jacksonville. We're going to go straight over to Zillow. We'll punch it in here. And Realtor.com. Let's punch it in there. All right, so this is what we got off the rip, right? We got Zillow, shot us a 261 estimated ARV. As we pull out a little bit, and we can look on the street, right? That's a 321 comp. Interesting, right? So we got this 1,800 square feet. And our subject property is 1,600 square feet, right? So that's interesting. Even though it's spitting us out the 260, we see a couple comps in the area that are telling us it could possibly be worth a little more. And what surprises me is look at that, Realtor.com off the rip is offering just a soft offer of 330, right? That's pretty impressive. So you might want to take a deeper dive. Let's see what NAR says. NAR's got it at roughly 285 average and a range below there. So we'll kind of land in the middle, right? Let's just say the ballpark of the Zestimate, the 265, 261 ballpark is where they want. Now, they didn't give us an asking price on this one, right? Which a lot of them they do. But my thought is it's definitely worth leaning in, right? It's definitely worth calling the seller, really seeing what they want, how we can best serve them, open up the conversation, and see, if they'd be willing to obviously look at Zillow. I see, upon doing my research online, I'm seeing, if this house is completely fixed up, looks like it might be worth around the area of 260 ballpark. Would you agree? Right? Just ask the seller, do you agree? Wait for their feedback. And then off of that, right, we'll always kind of lean towards the lower number. Let's just kind of get a rough number of what we think the value of the house might be, right? Let's say 260 is going to be our assumption, right? We're thinking, okay, market value price, 260. I want to highlight this in blue just to make it stand out. Where's my text color? There we go. All right. So 260, right? I'm leaning towards the lower end just because obviously we want to ground and get the lowest price possible. So let's start there. Now, 260, if we're saying that's the after repair value, that's the top of value market price, our goal is to have our offer amount roughly 80 to 90% of that, right? So if we go over to this calculator and we punch in 260, multiply that times 0.8, right? We know 0.8 because we're going for 80%, 80 to 90, but we obviously want to start on the lower side, right? So 80% of this, all we got to do is multiply 260 times 0.8 equals 208, right? So the 208 number brings us here $208. That'd be our starting price. Okay. Then we can also punch that same number in. I'm going to change this. We want to also punch that in just to see what it looks like for 260,000 times 0.9. 234. So our goal with this is to get it somewhere in the ballpark between these two numbers. Right? Top of value, top of market, we're saying is 260. And obviously we're being conservative in this area because I can see that there's a couple that it might have sold more. And then the realtor.com is crazy what they're throwing. That number is insane, right? If they even offered anywhere close to that,
30.
Rock solid.
Yeah.
Right? And then this one's landing somewhere in the middle. But where I'm going with it is good to just check two resources, Zillow and Realtor, and then just based on the data that we're getting from that, kind of just landing somewhere in the middle. So I could have possibly even tried to push it to 280, but just to be conservative, to be safe, I just started on the low side, right? We'll do this with another property too. But first we found out, hey, what are we guessing that the market value is? Once we got that number, we multiply it times 8 and then multiply it times 0.9. And this range is where we want to try to start the offer, right? So when it gets to the negotiation stage, let's say the seller started at 261. And when a seller tells us, hey, I want 261 for the house, where do you think they got that number? That's a question. Where do you guys think that they got the 261 number?
Got it from Zillow.
Yeah, straight from Zillow, right? If they told you 261, you know for a fact that they looked at Zillow to see what the house might be worth. 261, right? If they're grounding right around that number that Zillow's giving us, that's exactly what's giving them their ask price, right? Well, in some cases, Zillow might be a tiny bit off, right? Zillow's numbers could be a little bit higher, or they could be a little bit lower than that actual home might be worth. So it could actually work in our advantage in some cases, right? But we want to pay attention to that. So seller's price to us, 261, right? this could be your response. Hey, Mr. Seller, I feel like, that number could be really close. However, I don't have authorization to go quite that high on price. I was given an offer range between, 215 and 234, right? Kind of between these two numbers. Now keep in mind, this would be an all cash offer. You wouldn't have to pay any real estate commissions or any of that. So if you think about it, 261, let's say you listed the house on the market and you got 261, you'd still have to pay your real estate agent 6% commission, right? So what would that be? If you actually if you had to pay that all out, 261,000 times 0.06 equals that 6% that we were talking about. That equals 15,000, right? So that's how much they pay out in commissions, 15,660. So if you took that off of 261, that's what? 261 minus 15 would be 246. 246.6 is what they might walk with, best case scenario, right? But again, if we just really stressed like our process, like, hey, we'll buy the house in as is condition. You don't have to put new paint, new flooring, or anything. Like we're willing to take it as it gets. That's going to help to really incentivize the seller to want to maybe go with us, right? Especially if we have good rapport built. So really the sales approach can be different, depending how we really want to frame it and structure it. But, I think in most cases, we usually want the seller to give us their price first, right? And they're not always going to give that. So if they don't give their price first, right, we just come in with like, hey, Mr. Seller. So this is us trying to pull the price out, right? This is what we're going to say. Hey, Mr. Seller, if I were to, well, let's just say that, hey, Mr. Seller, did you have a price in mind that you were hoping to sell your house for? Right, so that's our first initial offer, or our first initial approach to try to get them to give us their number. Right now, if they don't give an offer, they're like, hey, I'd like to, you called me, what are you offering me? In that case, we'd be like, okay, give me one moment to, look at the area. Bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and look at the market and see what houses that are similar to yours are selling. Right. So we just go to Zillow, go here. Now, our goal is to already kind of have a rough ballpark of the numbers together and just be like, based on the numbers that I am seeing, houses your area seem to be selling between, and we'll just say like just above that 0.8, right? Between 2, or we could even just say 208. That would be our bottom number. 2, and let's just say like 10,000 above this, 244,000. And then we could just say, would you agree? We want to get their answer, right? So based on what I'm seeing, it looks like houses are selling between 208 to 244, right? I just went 10 above this. And then we say, hey, would you agree with this, right? And just wait for their response. And based on their next response to this question, we can really figure out if we think that we might actually be able to make something work, right? We give them a ballpark range at the bottom and then just above our maximum allowable offer, right? And then we just wait to see what they might be willing to offer. So that's really, yeah. What are your thoughts with this, Alfred?
Yeah, because on the realtor.com, it's kind of high, right?
It is high.
Yeah.
It is high.
Yeah, we can do, you're correct, 244. So that's the max that we can offer.
Yeah, so I would say I'd like to stay with that as the max, but let's say the seller's dead set on that 261 number, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just say Let's say in this situation, seller is asking 261, no lower. That's what the seller's saying. Hey, I'll take 261, no lower. In that case, I would always say this, right? And that's actually going to bring us to this stage, right? So if the seller's really dead set on that 261 number for whatever reason, I would always lead with this. Hey, I feel like we're really close. However, I don't have authorization to go quite that high on price. Let me go ahead and call the underwriting department to see if I can get approval on this one to go up on price for you. If I'm able to fight for you and get the number that you want, are you in a position and ready to sell, right? Are you in a position to make that decision, right? And just wait on that. Now that in itself can probably be one of the most powerful tools for closing more of these deals, especially if we're like a little bit on the line and we're not sure if it's a deal, right? Have this conversation. Hey, Mr. Seller, thank you so much for giving me the price. I feel like we're really close here. However, I don't have authorization to go quite up that high, right? The number that they gave me was a little bit below this, but I'll tell you what, give me an opportunity. Let me go call the underwriting department and see if I can get approval to go up just a little bit on price. If I'm able to fight for the number that you want, are you in a position to make a decision, right? Boom. That's removing all objections, right? And getting us ready so that you can hang up the call. If he says, yes, that sounds good. Don't call me back unless you can get it at the price, whatever. So in that case, right, call the underwriting department, either Jay, right? And Jay should be able to give you guys approval on this, right? Now, if Jay's got some questions at that point, then we can reach out to myself, Jay or me, right? We'll just say Jay or Ben in this case. But we always want to go to Jay first, right? Because we want to keep me free to be able to operate and put together new processes and opportunities and stuff, right? We literally get off the phone and then either using the Voxer app, right? We can open up this in the team communication platform. And literally we put it on here. Check it out. I'll push the button. Hey, Jay, what's up, man? I'm working on this deal at 123 Main Street. We're really close on price. Seller's dead set on 261. What are your thoughts? And what's a good strategy to go in? Right, Jay will open that up. Literally, the walkie-talkie app is quick. So I need you guys to have your phones very close to you at all times. That way we can communicate like this as a team. You guys see that? Right there on the spot. Jay, he reached back to me. So using these tools efficiently is going to help us to make quick communication as a team where we're going back and forth and we're ready to fire off these offers. Boom, right? We got this as a tool. Powerful tool if we use it right, right? So that strategy, guys, again, it's simple, right? We literally go to a couple different places to look at the deal. And then we punch in the calculator, our formula, which it's all mapped out for you here, right? 260 times 0.8, 260 times 0.9. And we want to be in this ballpark as far as an offer price. Okay. That's only in the hot target markets, right? Just because the way that our dispositions is built in these areas, we have that ability, right? We can really, really dial in. Now, this is considering that the house is in pretty decent shape, right? We don't want super distressed deals. So that's the one thing we really need to lean in with and pay attention to is, hey, is this house in pretty good shape, right? If it needs paint and carpet, that's fine. Paint and flooring, right? But if it needs major upgrades, then that could obviously come off of this price, right? So this model works best for somewhat newer houses, right? Houses that are in a little bit better condition. But again, the numbers that we're getting here in many cases can can be pretty accurate. So let's try another property. Let's go to this one, Antebellum. They're asking 250. His estimate's low here, right? So it looks like they're asking above what the house is worth at first glance. All right, 270. It's a small house, 988 square feet. The fact it's below 1,000 square feet kind of steers me away a little bit. I mean, we got some good comps here, but they're all larger. They're bigger houses. But just for the training's sake, let's punch it in realtor.com just to see where we come in. We want to get good at paying attention to these. Okay. So they're roughly at 205. Is kind of where they're coming in at. So we're seeing the trends here. The trends here are telling us that the realtor.com price is coming in slightly above the Zestimate, which is interesting. So again, just to be safe, we want to lean on the lower end of this. And I'm guessing NAR is going to land us right in the middle, right? So they're probably going to take us to I'm guessing 180 ballpark. Whoa. That's impressive. So this one, realtor.com is below Zillow. I got the square footage right. Wow. All right. So in this case, 250. Well, obviously 250 is way too high, right? If this is the ballpark we're landing at, we would have to be at like 180, right? Let's just say we're going with the 205 number. 205 times 0.8.
164.
Yep, 164 would be our starting spot. And then just so we have an idea, we'll just type it in. Was it 205 the number I was working with? It was, right?
Yes.
Oh. 184.5. So for this one, 184 as our max, right? That's where ballpark where we'd have to be. And we definitely want to try to stay on the lower side, right? But Zillow's saying 171, so again, paying attention to this number is going to be a big one. Paying attention to the realtor.com, the kind of the soft offer range, because that's really going to help to guide us. Let's try this one that we actually have under contract. Kirkland Court. Why is this not pulling up? I got to go back to our emails to make sure I got the address right. 1102 Kirkland. Here we go. Zillow's punching it at 347. Realtor, let's see what they give us. 363. So we'll use this one as an example. 1104 Kirkland, 1102. We'll just say 363 is our starting point in our calculator, just to go on the high end, even though Zillow says a little bit less. 290. 290. So this is at 363. At 80% of that, 290. Let's type it in again. Let's do 363 times 0.9, 326. $320. So we want to be in an offer range between, just to make sure the numbers are right so you don't get confused, right? 363 was the number that we got soft offer here, right? Ballpark. And again, we're not selling these to Open Door. We have different funds, but we have a good idea as far as the data based on the offer that's getting spit out here, right? 363 ballpark. So we know we want to be between 290 to 326 max to make this one work. Well, guess what? We got a contract on this one. This is a perfect example. Let's check it out. This is the agreement that Jay got signed last week. Look at that. So 315 falls just inside this ballpark, right? Just inside of this, which is perfect. That's dialed in. That's where we want to land with these. So should be pretty efficient, pretty simple, right? Getting to that number right now, especially in the target markets, is easier than it's ever been, okay? That's also a strategy we can likely input in Columbia, Greenville, and a few others. But real simple, guys. Let's get that. Like, honestly, let's go to realtor.com and Zillow, kind of get an idea with where they land. If realtor.com is like way higher, then we might need to, take a second look at it. But in a lot of cases, this number is a pretty good idea as far as what we might be able to move it for on the buy side. Does that seem simple enough for you guys?
Yes, it is, boss. Yes.
Perfect. So that's it, right? I created this little mind map. I'll print it out and we'll go ahead and post it inside of our acquisitions module inside of Slack. But use this, guys. I'll also actually take it and I'll put it in the acquisitions model for the Google Doc that's shared with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to help us to really be efficient. Now we have these on the side just for a resource. So if you're negotiating with the sellers, you have an idea as far as like what repairs could cost, right?
All right.
It's just a ballpark, right? But just for you guys to kind of see it, repairs per unit, meaning like major repairs, roof, air conditioning, AC unit, kitchen remodel, single bathroom remodel, we're in this ballpark, right? Estimated repairs, small rehab. I'm actually going to go these up a tiny bit on these just because materials have gone up in this market and so has labor, right? I might even just say 35 a square foot for the full rehab. But, if it's really light rehab, paint and carpet, we'll just 12 a square foot. So let's say the house is, Kirkland is 2,200 square feet. And we're doing the light rehab. Let's go to the calculator. 2,200 square feet times $12 a square foot to $26,400 for light rehab. So let's say that the after repair value was 363, and we subtracted that by the 25,000 that we're guessing for a light rehab because it needs some paint and carpet. So 363 minus 25 brings us to 239, 238, something like that. Right. So still, but again, I don't want to overcomplicate it for you guys. I don't even think you'll have to really pay as much attention to this side unless it comes up and the seller's dead set on a certain number, and we just need to help convince them why, hey, your house actually needs a little bit of work. This is right. Just kind of as a guidepost, this is here for your resource. But I don't want you to get caught up in this side because the equation is very simple. If the house is in pretty good condition, this is what we're following, right? Get the ARV, get what the market value price is, multiply it times 0.8, multiply it times 0.9. That's the ballpark, right? 80 to 90% of the ballpark. And again, I got the formula broken down here. 363. Offer amount between this. Let's get 280, right? Or 363 times that. Times 8. 363 times 9. 290, 326. Formula is very simple and effective. So this in itself is going to help us to dial in and close more deals.
Investor Syndicate? I'm really thinking about joining Investor Syndicate. NFTs? Cryptocurrencies? Real estate?
Yeah, I'd like to welcome you to the Investors Syndicate.